What's up, Joe?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Scrubs Allowed podcast. Seal, how's it going, buddy?
There we go. Doing good, man. Doing good. LeBron is out of the playoffs. Hemi Butler may be Michael Jordan's son. Everything is good in the land of South Florida. Panthers just won. It's nice.
Dude, that was nuts, that Panthers game. By the way, shout out to my buddy Mike. Mike Clark was at the game. So
Hey-o.
he probably drove his creeper van there and did his thing. So shout out to you, Mike. You got to he's been a Panthers fan the whole time, even when they weren't good. And he always invited all the fraternity brothers to go to the game. And we're like, good. We're not going to the Panthers games.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a Panthers fan. I'm not a Heat fan, but it's been fun being able to enjoy it
I think he
amongst
lives
the
in
South
Jupiter.
Floridians.
If you ever want to go hang out with Mike Clark.
No, that means he probably hangs out with Reedy.
I don't think Reedy ever liked him that much.
Me and Mike can get along.
Anyways, but yeah, so shout out to them. We don't talk about hockey, so shout out to the Panthers. Vegas is looking to put Dallas away tomorrow night. They're up 3-0, so they'll eventually put it away. It's actually been pretty crazy. The first two games of both series went to overtime. I watched the first couple of Panthers games, and they're pretty locked in. Eddie wanted me to let everyone know that Matthew Tkachuk for the Panthers is right now the greatest American player. That's what he said. Like greatest active American player right now. So
it's not what's his face?
Austin Matthews or whoever.
Connor McDavid.
Nathan McKinnon. He's Canadian.
Okay.
Connor McDavid's Canadian. So yeah, so I think it was Nathan McKinnon. Eddie can correct me if he wants to, but I think it was Nathan McKinnon. But now this Matthew Tkachuk guy apparently has stolen the trophy belt there. So if you're an American and you want to cheer for hockey, I guess Florida's the team with the best Americans, so cheer for them. But that's about all the hockey we got for you. Do we want to talk about the rec leagues at the beginning or the rec leagues at the end? Or mine, because yours isn't going yet.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We can start off by saying Mike needs to get his fucking shit together.
So we still don't know when Seals...
And then try to pull out the schedule 10 days before the fucking season. No, you see the NFL. What is it? It's beginning of fucking May, and they announced a fucking schedule 3 months away. Good on you, NFL. Fucking commish.
We don't know when Seal's gonna play next, but when he does, we will.
I don't know if I'm gonna have a fucking job when I get to play because my notice might not be enough in advance. And we all know me. I'm saying, sorry.
So we'll update you guys when it happens. But my league is going long and strong, and I got to play in my first game this year. This is our team's second game, but we got to win against a team that knocked us out of the playoffs last year. So it feels really good. We played really well. I fucked up my right knee, and I think it's just because I'm overcompensating because my left knee is the one that was hurt. But I've been doing the PT on both sides. When I'm at PT, they only focus on my left side, but when he gives me like the homework and shit to do, I do it on both sides when I'm at home. So just been icing it, compressing it, doing the stretches, doing all that shit. So it'll be fine. But yeah, I definitely probably overcompensated on that because I got some pain at the end of the game. But it's all worth it when you win the game. We did the same thing we always do, but just tweaked that little bit that pushed us over the edge. We started out hot, looked good. We were up like 12 at halftime. At the beginning of halftime, I had like back-to-back turnovers. They cut it to 4 like that. And we were like, oh shit, the cardio is about to start kicking in. Everything's about to go south like it always does. I called a timeout, mostly because of the turnovers. I didn't want to get in my head, so I wanted to sub out. But the timeout got to settle everybody down. Got some guys out there that staved off the bleeding a little bit. Then I cooled my head back down, got back out there, stopped turning the ball over, and it all worked out. We get 2 per half.
2 per half. That's the same with us, I believe.
So it's things like that to where we're now pretty much veterans. We're in like our 4th, 5th season, so we know when we need to call timeouts. And when you only get 2 a half, you can't just call them to stop runs. But there are some runs that you have to be like, oh shit, we gotta take it right here. And so we took it at the right time. Went out there, built the lead back up to about 8, and it went from like 8 to 4 the rest of the game, and then we hit free throws at the end to seal it. So it was a really good game. It's really good to beat teams that have beat you in the past. But just the way my team has really grown together, it's fucking huge. And that's what I don't like about your team or your league in particular. I like a lot of the things that your league does with the draft and whatever, but it doesn't build that continuity, man. I have the same team that we've had now for 3 straight
Well,
seasons, and it builds that continuity. It's awesome.
so this is going to be Burns' first time away from the Warriors. A lot of Sixers had been Sixers for a very long time up until last year. They've tried, even with the drafts. I felt like at the beginning of this thing, the draft is more for whenever the new people came in and
Yeah,
all that stuff. But like you had alluded to before, like that we had 12 new people this year. So the more new faces we get in this league, the harder it's going to be for the Burns Warrior to
right,
happen. For the like last year or now this year, the Adil 76er isn't going to be, and Adil's been a 76er since 2014. So this is
right.
going to be his 9th, 10th year in the league, and the first time he's not a Sixer. So I like it. If they want to, they can keep it together, but it's going to cost them the good
Right.
draft picks. They're going to end
I
up
mean,
like we did. I mean, I Connor says he would have picked me in the 5th round if he would have had a 5th round pick, but who fucking knows? I was the 5th pick on the team, but you know who knows? But so it can happen to where Connor wants to still like keep somebody, and somebody wants to draft, and you know like you can get
yeah.
penalized. You can keep players and all that stuff if you
No,
want
I
to hold on
like the
to them.
fact that you guys draft, but the fact that we have the exact same 7 people now for 3 straight seasons just allows us to we're doing no look passes and shit now just because we know where our teammate is. We're able to know exactly who's bringing the ball up, where everybody else is going to run to, who's setting picks, who's flashing up to the free throw line, just because now we know what everybody's tendency is. So it made the passing a lot more crisp. We were way more patient. It was way, way better. I mean, just we only scored in the 40s, which typically we score about 55 to 60 a game. And then it's just if we can play defense. But the way we slowed it down, we scored 48, and I would say, like, without exaggeration, probably 10 shots less than we averaged last year a game. So we're making more shots to get to that little, just a few points less. So taking less shots, barely scoring less, and being able to cut down on the opponent's possessions, because 10 less possessions for us is like 4 points. 10 less possessions for the other team is like 16 points that they don't get. So
Yeah.
it works out in our favor, and it did last night. So that was really exciting, and hopefully next week we can keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I like that for y'all. And also what I like with our league, like every year any team can win, right?
Mm,
Like you have those teams that always get pushed up in the playoffs, and yeah, finally they're going to end up on the fucking the A the A
right.
league and maybe
Eventually.
only win 2 or 3 games. But for the most part it seems like y'all are going to have to work to be able to get to that point, knowing that there's 3 or 4 teams that have been doing the same shit y'all are doing and just have that better skill set right now
Right.
and able to do that. At least for us, every single year, you have 7 teams in the league, and all 7 teams really have a viable shot to go out and win the whole thing. That's what I like. Like each GM goes into the draft knowing they have a game plan and knowing that they can get it done every year that we can go into it winning the chip. And I mean, I'm
Right.
sure there's leagues around here that do the whole I just got earwax in my ear like crazy. That's what happens when you don't use a Q-tip. That shit just falls naturally,
Right.
like God
Yep.
intended.
Mine
But
does that.
um, but yeah, that's what I like about it. I mean, I would definitely love to have a core of people. Like that would be cool if you can keep like the GM can automatically keep 2 people every single year
Yeah.
and have a core of 3 to build around. But I like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
No, to your
excited.
point, our team, so one of the teams in our league is just awesome, but they can only play on Tuesday nights until like the playoffs, obviously. Um, so they actually won. We're in the D3, so they won D2. It goes D3, D2, D1, and then like the elites is what they call them. So we're D3, and they got moved up to the D2 tournament, won the D2 tournament last year. So now they're back down playing in the D3 Tuesday night, and they just won last night 85 to 51. and the next highest scoring team of the whole night only scored 61. So to your point, yeah, we have those a couple of those teams that are like, this night is just the only night we can play, but we're gonna roll everybody. So yeah, that's kind of frustrating when you get the guys like that. Like they're gonna go 8-0. Nobody's even gonna challenge them, and we know that, and they know that, and they're just waiting for the tournament. That's the only thing they
Yeah.
care about. So yeah, we don't have that. The parity in your league is way better, but I don't think we play them this year, so I'm excited.
And I
See
love
what we do.
how like the commish does it, and it really has everybody bought into it. Like just with the draft going on, along with the NBA lottery saying our sister league, the Spurs just got the #1 pick. Like they take that shit seriously. I love it. I love everything about it, except the fact that it's not like we have a team all year long. We find out
Right.
our team 2 weeks before, and now here we are probably 10 days before the fucking start of the season, not even knowing the schedule. That's the only thing that stinks. But at the same time, it's one person commish doing it. It's not like a fucking, you have a rec department in the county
Right.
kind of heading it and shit like that. It's one guy taking care of the whole
Yeah.
thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, you guys should try to, and I don't know if everybody in the league is as dedicated as everybody else, obviously, but you should try to at least get your teams like maybe a month before, so you can at least meet every Sunday before that and get a little bit of run in with your
yeah,
squad.
we're trying to set up a scrimmage Sunday morning with a couple of the other teams.
Nice.
Just so we can have 10, 15 people to rent out a gym. But that's the thing now. It's back in the day whenever they would play on Plant Drive over outside, you could meet up whenever. Now
Right.
everybody's trying to get used to, because we can go out and set up and run plays on Plant Drive, but if we have a play set up for rub screens for somebody to get a three on the corner, and somebody who's going to make it 9 out of 10 times indoors makes it 3 out of 10 times
Right.
outdoors, he's not going to want to put that shot up. Even though y'all run that play indoors, he's probably going to miss it 7 out of 10 times, just like he
Yeah.
did outdoors because it's in his head now. So it's really hard for us to get together and do scrimmages and practices just because we need to be indoors. We're playing indoors. We want to
Yeah.
practice indoors. And in this area where everything costs money, it's really fucking hard, honestly. Like you have every once in a while the open gym at one of the rec gyms. It's just
Yeah.
not like normal areas. Like this is they know people have money, they know they'll spend it, and they charge for you to use a fucking gym.
Dude, I went out on Sunday outside to prepare for the game, and it was a hard blowing wind right to the right side. So I was draining, but all my shots I had to kind of put a little bit left so that they'd go in with the wind. And I showed up Tuesday, my first shot of the night, airballed so hard left. I was like, oh shit, let me recalibrate.
Yeah,
Hold
it's
up.
really hard to
Luckily, it was
prepare
during
for indoor
warm-ups. It was
games.
warm-ups, but they give you like 5 minutes to warm up, which is nice. But that first shot I took was so hard left. I was like, oh wait, I'm back indoors. I just got to shoot at the
Yeah, if
rim.
you don't have the first game, it's really hard
Mm.
to get a warm up in. Like maybe you go out there. I'm about it. So I've been drinking. This is moonshine. Just killed the whole thing. Me eat the apple, see what happens. But like maybe during halftime you'll get 5 minutes in. And then before your game starts, usually the first game where the first two games ran a little long, so they're trying to speed shit up, so
Hmm.
you don't get
Those refs like
the
to fucking go
full.
home.
Yeah, you don't get the full 5, 10 minute warm up you
Got
usually
you.
would. So that first game you get a good 10 minutes. Everything after that you got what they give you.
Yeah, that's how ours is. But so far we've been like the second
Hmm.
game every night, so we still get like a full squad. All right, so let's move into the real world here. And before we get to our redraft, I actually wanted to talk about a headline because the headline is actually happening. The draft happened 10 years ago. And the Suns have narrowed their search down to the Final Four. And that's really exciting for me, except for three of the Final Four people I don't care about. Um, but it's okay because let me pull up the names real quick. Um, I'm not too worried. I have a little bit of insider information. So the Final Four people that are here are Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, Kevin Young, who is our assistant coach or was our assistant coach, and Jordi Fernandez, who is the Kings assistant coach. And I have under good, trusted sources that Devin Booker strongly wants Kevin Young. So that's who it's going to be. This this team isn't about to say, "Oh, that's who you want, Booker." Well, fuck you, we're getting Doc Rivers. So that's pretty good. But what I wanted to talk to you about is we texted a little bit about it, but two of those guys are championship coaches. We've talked about Doc in the past. We don't have to talk about his pedigree, but two of them are championship coaches. Two of them would be first-time head coaches. And when you have a squad like what Phoenix is doing, even what the Bucks are doing and the 76ers and some of these other coaching staffs, when you're looking at it, how hard is it to decide between, listen, I can get this championship coach who's ready to win now, but it's only going to be for 2-3 years, and we might lose this guy that could potentially be Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, or going with that guy that's going to be in his first year, and yeah, he might turn out to be one of the coaches of the year one day, but it's probably going to take him a little bit. When you're built the way that the Suns are built, how do you juggle those two scenarios?
I mean, I think if you're looking at it, there's only two options. You either go with Kevin Young, the assistant that's comfortable within the organization and knows what his team wants to do, or you look at a guy like Nick Nurse and see how he won a championship in Toronto and how he was still steady coaching a group of guys that involved Serge Ibaka and Kawhi Leonard, who we all
Yeah,
know these are two guys who predominantly you don't wouldn't say aren't coachable. They'll just do whatever you want them to do.
right.
They're just robots. I mean, Kawhi's the shit. He's athletic as fuck. He sent Joel Embiid crying a couple years ago in Toronto. But the fact that everything you saw in Toronto, then Kyle Lowry earning a fucking contract in Miami, like it was all Nick Nurse. It's in like what he was able to do in Toronto was all on him. Yes, he had Kawhi Leonard, but other than that, what honestly did he really have? And he was able to go out there and win a chip, and it was all on him. We saw at the end of the games, we saw that Philly game. He called that play up. He wrote
Yeah,
that bitch down. Like he's a high coaching coach. And if you can have guys in there like Kawhi Leonard and Serge Ibaka who aren't necessarily like I don't know like they just seem like robots. Not that they're not coachable, it's just they're coachable. It's just they'll do whatever you tell them to do. It's not like you have to coach them. You just have
right.
to tell them what to do and they do it. And everything that happened in Toronto was on Nick Nurse. So that's got to be the most viable option. What he was able to do with them, and then immediately since he's gotten fired, what's happened up in Toronto has been abysmal.
Yeah,
And that's a nut like, okay, all right, well maybe this guy's a great coach. And then you look at everything Doc's touched besides 1 year of basketball in his whole career. It's a lot of heartbreak going back over 20 years now. Like
yeah,
I think he's kind of ridden off into the sunset. He's more so trying to claim one more check before he retires, I feel like. And then the Sacramento guy, yes, he's going to get a shot, but like we've already alluded to, with this roster, we're not trying to give somebody a shot and see what
right.
his coaching style is like, seeing if he's going to be that Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, Eric Spoelstra type. Let Sacramento do that. Like, let them get rid of Mike
Yeah,
Brown. Let them keep the trend of firing coaches when they're doing really good, and let them see how that is. Because right now we're trying to win a chip, and if we're going to give it to somebody, it's going to be old Kevy boy. But
yeah,
I don't see at all them going with a first year coach with outside of the organization. And there's no way in fuck, right? Devin Booker or Kevin Durant's going to let them sign Doc Rivers to a coaching
no.
contract.
Well,
It
Chris
just can't
Paul won't.
happen.
When Doc Rivers comes out and says it was the team's fault that the Clippers didn't win shit, not my fault, it was the players. Chris Paul better have been like, wait, why is he even coming up in my headlines as a finalist? Get him the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But no, so I know you're not a GM, you're not an owner. You don't know for sure, but when you get the player endorsement of your superstar, listen, Devin Booker, we hope he's a lifer. When he comes out and he says, I want to keep Kevin Young, that makes the possibilities either Kevin Young or you sign Nick Nurse and force him to keep Kevin Young on your staff. Now, how hard do you think that is? Because most head coaches bring in their people. Do you think they would be able to do something like say, Nick, we'll hire you, but we want you to keep Kevin as an associate coach. He's our coach kind of in waiting in a few years. He's the guy we want. but we want to win with you. Do you think that would disrespect Nick Nurse too much, or do you think that's something you can maybe wiggle in?
No, I definitely think it's something you can wiggle in. We've seen it before. Maybe we don't hear about it so much in basketball, but football wise, we definitely see these lifers with organizations kind of stay through head coaching staffs and all that stuff. But I mean, yeah, he's I guess now he's not even really an end of the bench guy.
Yeah,
Like he's there with the coaches. But yeah, so I mean, you can definitely have it happen. I don't know if I'd use the term coach in waiting, for Nick,
yeah,
who's still relatively young and
right.
has plenty of time to coach. But but yeah, give him a shot and see. I wouldn't want to lose Kevin. Maybe like be like, yo,
That's the
listen,
thing. Like, I don't want him
we'll
to
give you
follow Monty somewhere
give
else.
you a president of operations
Yeah,
job
that's
or
all I'm
some
talking
type
about.
shit. But I mean, and also, like, why not? Nick Nurse isn't getting pulled up right now. There's been so many different first time coaches over the last 2 years when he's been available. So it's not like he's getting calls. And we've seen Doc Rivers more in the news lately, with coaching openings instead of Nick's. So,
Yeah,
maybe you can wait on that and see a year. But as a Suns fan, you're not trying to wait a year on a coach. You're trying to get shit
exactly.
done now.
Well, my prediction, so that we can make it on 524, um, is that we draft. We pick Kevin Young. He's going to be our head coach. I think Nick Nurse goes to Milwaukee. I think Toronto signs the do you sign coaches? Whatever. Hires the Warriors associate coach. I don't know his name. Sorry, guy. Um, and then I don't know who ends up in Boston, but Boston's going to need a head coach after this season's over. Um, so I don't know who that'll be, but maybe they'll do another first timer. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I think y'all's best chance is Nick Nurse. Just to his style of coaching, he stays coaching. He doesn't give a fuck who's on the court. And I think at the end of the day, that's what the Suns have been missing. Not saying Monty is not a good play caller, not a good basketball facade, but motherfucker doesn't know how to deal
Make
with end of
adjustments.
games
Yeah.
and deal with runs. And for some reason, it just like we see these good teams. We see the Heat right now. It'll look good. They'll look decent coming in out of halftime. Fucking Celtics will start going on a run, find themselves down 13, and come back and shut the game out.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Suns. Find themselves going on the bad end of a run, down 13. By the end of the quarter, they're down 26.
Well, that's the thing with coaches, right? So most coaches fall into one or two categories, at least in basketball. They either are a great prep coach and the team is ready to go at the start of the game, or they're a great adjustments coach and they make those changes, or they're Spoelstra and they're just like good at all of it. But even Spoelstra, I'd say, is a better adjustments coach than he is a
Yeah.
preparation coach. Monty Williams was a preparation coach. These players come out and they're ready, but when the plan stops working, he doesn't make that much adjustments. Nick Nurse, the team's not ready usually, but after halftime, he turns that shit around and he's able to make adjustments. So it's one of those things where we tried the preparation type of coach. Why not try the guy that can make the adjustments? And Doc is a preparation coach as well. Like we don't need that. We need a guy that's going to make adjustments on the fly. We have two of probably the top 15 players in the NBA if they can stay healthy. We need somebody that can say, listen, what we planned isn't working, but we have two guys that can adjust to anything. Just like you said with Kawhi, like let's just change it up and let's let them go do that because they're capable of doing everything.
Yeah,
But I don't
and
know. I don't know if we'll turn away from Devin Booker's suggestion. Yeah.
I feel like we've forgotten too, the first 2 years of Devin Booker's career, before they started going to playoffs and started thinking they can win a championship. This dude was just doing whatever he like was told to do. He
Mhm.
wasn't out here making sure he touched the ball 60% of the time of possession. Like he was just doing what he was supposed to do. Devin Booker is very coachable. The kid went to Kentucky. Calipari like thrills about the dude. I think he was the third drafted dude on that team.
Yep.
Like like he's a very coachable young man, and I think people forget that. They look at his jawing when they're up and looking stupid when they're down, like kind of thing. They look at him as this arrogant cat who wasn't able to do anything before CP3. You see all the memes, you see all the talk on Reddit and all that stuff. I think they forget that this kid, it can definitely buckle down and do whatever he's told by his coach if his coach is going to help him win basketball games. And I think we saw that as well whenever he would start throwing up those dumbass shots. Monty didn't have an answer. Like Monty didn't have the fix,
Right.
the on the fly adjustment. So Devin Booker and KD, they just had to start looking ugly as shit. KD looked abysmal in these
Yeah, he did.
playoffs because all he knew what to do is jacket, and he's not Nikola Jokic, which I hit one of those shots tonight on like a little
Yeah,
hot
the
shot thing,
fall away one.
a tiny
Oh,
basket,
man.
way like way away, not by the thing, like way away. I was like Jokic, and that bitch
Nice.
splashed. And
Did you hit the
but
fucking roof like Jokic does?
no, but it went, yeah,
He
it was
chucked the bitch
dope.
high as fuck.
It was dope as fuck. But like KD doesn't have that anymore, you know?
Right.
So if you can have like Nick just sit there, keep drawing up plays, keep drawing up plays. You saw it all the time. Kyle coming down, looking at Nick, and then running shit, running shit, running shit.
Yeah.
And if you can get they're Aiton's a bitch, but if you can get him in plays and running plays, he does it. Just don't give
Yeah.
him the ball at the end of the fucking play near the hoop if you don't want to lay up 2 feet out.
You mean like a 12-foot jumper? He's not even going for a
Well,
layup.
that shit too, but it's annoying too whenever he gets fed those little cuts and he goes up
The
instead of
bunny,
dunking it
the
like
little
everybody
bunny
else. Yeah, he
mini
just
hook that
fucking
he.
flicks that bitch
Yeah.
in 3 feet out. Like, yo, extend your arm and dunk it. I
Even
can't
just
do
for a
it on a
morale
fucking
boost, just
trampoline. That
fucking
shit's
dunking.
annoying, bro. I hope I never get my ups to where I can dunk. Cause that's all I'm gonna be able to do. I'll never be able to do anything. On trampolines, it's so weird trying to.
I'm too scared to even like. I could work out, lose like 20 pounds, get my knees right, and be working out, and like have a scientist or a doctor or some shit go, "Hey, you have like a 20-inch vert right now. You could dunk." I'd still be like, "I'm scared I'm gonna Tom Segura that bitch if I go try to dunk on a
Yeah.
court. I ain't doing that.
Oh no, that's
2-footed
my
only,
goal.
baby."
That's my goal.
It would be, dude, but with my knees the way my knees are, I'm too scared to if I put 100% force in a jump, I'm scared I'm gonna fucking shatter that
True.
bitch. So it's a long run. It's still my goal, but like it would be a long like 2-3 years from now, just when I can make sure that everything's good to go. But I'm doing it, man. I'm doing flexibility, I'm doing strength, I'm doing plyos, I'm doing all the shit that you're supposed to do. But right now my vert's probably 7 inches, maybe. I
Oh
barely
yeah, I
get
have
off the
no
ground at
vert.
all.
Yeah, same.
So so it is what it is. But no, it's exciting to see that the coaching, and if it is Kevin Young, like we've been talking Nurse up so hard. Like I have nothing against Kevin Young. All indications are that he's a great coach. They love him. The players absolutely love him. In practice, when he gets to take over the coaching roles in practice, he does great. He coached in the G League. He's coached in I think 3 different teams in the G League, and he's done really well. But this team is built to win right fucking now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary. But other than that, I mean, I love Kevin Young. The only other thing I will say is if we sign Doc Rivers, then watch for a CP3 trade within the next week. Because I don't think we're signing him unless there's already somebody on the phone saying, okay, we'll take Chris Paul. Go ahead and hire Doc. We'll take Chris Paul off your hands because those two ain't
Yeah.
working together. I can tell you that. So I don't expect him to get hired. But if he does, put a bet in Vegas on that bitch that he will not be a Phoenix Sun. All right, so let's move on. And before we get to the actual playoffs, because there's only 3 teams left, but essentially 2. Um, let's do our redraft thing, and we're just gonna kind of talk about it. We're not gonna sit here and be like, you get first pick, I get second pick, because that's bum as fuck. But 10 years ago, the 2013 NBA draft happened. And before we get to the actual NBA draft, just so you know, have you ever played with Chat GPT, the AI chat things?
No, I will
Okay,
never
so
fuck with. No,
I'm
I
trying to
will.
get in good with our robot overlords so that when they take over, they go, "Hey, that Travis dude's pretty fucking cool. Don't worry
I
about
will
him."
never. No, I don't want them to know I exist.
I'm getting a chip in my head as soon as they offer that bitch. No. So, anyways, I asked GPT how to. I asked them. I said if you were going to draft the 2013 NBA draft with the hindsight knowledge that we have now, what would the top 10 picks be? Well, ChatGPT fucked up, but it created a really good talking point that I want to talk to you about. So obviously we know Anthony Bennett went first, right? You definitely know that better than anybody else. The chat fucked up and put Anthony Davis instead of Anthony Bennett. Anthony Davis was drafted the year before with the number 1 pick in 2012. But the interesting topic that it did is it drafted Anthony Davis over Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that made me
With
think,
everything we know now, wow.
like with everything we know now, if they were in the same year, if it wasn't Anthony Bennett, if it was Anthony Davis, would you pick Anthony Davis over Giannis like
No.
Chat did? You'd still
No.
go Giannis first?
Yeah.
I think I would too.
Just because in the 3 years it took Giannis to come up, those were 3 years Anthony Davis very much could have been trying to do something in New Orleans and become something great, but all he did was bitch and look for a way out. So like what am I going to do? Am I going to draft a guy who doesn't want to work, or am I going to draft a kid who me and him both know, and 5 years from now this kid's going to be a fucking stud because he's an 18-year-old from Greece, or I can get the 19-year-old from Kentucky who doesn't really like the situation he's in, knows he's in a small market, and is going to do anything he can to get out and go to LA.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at that and I started thinking about it, I was like, the peak 1 year version of them, Anthony Davis could have been the best player in the league. I mean, obviously LeBron was out there doing his thing, blah blah blah. We're not trying to have LeBron arguments, but the peak version of Anthony Davis was unstoppable. He was a defensive force. He was offensively gifted, and this was before he learned how to shoot a three or anything like that. Giannis is obviously a 2-time MVP. He's doing things that Anthony Davis hasn't done. So it was a pretty cool thing that the chat fucked up so that I could say, I wonder if I would have done that. I would have went Giannis as well. But when you think about peak Anthony Davis, that man was scary. But that man was scary for like 45 games a year. And then you had to hope he was being scary. Now, literally his nickname in some circles is Anthony Every Other Davis. So it's like you don't know what you're going to get from him. So you can't do that. Giannis is consistent. Giannis, but again, in the other side of the argument, you can build a wall. You still can build a wall. Giannis is obviously getting better, and we hope that he gets better to the point of beating the wall. I hope whoever the new coach is teaches him how to beat that wall. But right now, it's still possible. But knowing what we know now, picking it today, I would definitely take Giannis over Anthony Davis, even knowing his entire career.
Oh yeah, and fucking Giannis was able to do it without LeBron. For
True.
one.
So
and he didn't, I don't know, he's been able to consistently stay on the court. And if we look at AD and we look at Giannis, Giannis has another 4 or 5 years of being able to do it on his own. AD lost that about 4 or 5 surgeries ago.
Right. So at least we know that humans still reign supreme because chat picks the wrong person first. But now getting to the actual people that were drafted in 2013, the top 10 that was picked, Anthony Bennett, Victor Oladipo, Otto Porter, Cody Zeller, Alex Len, who was fine, bucket, but we have a better pick for Phoenix. Nerlens Noel, Ben McLemore, KCP, Trey Burke, CJ McCollum, and that's the top 10. So when I was just initially looking through this, a couple names that jumped out to me was Victor Oladipo and KCP. And you look because obviously Oladipo just got hurt. But since they've moved around a couple times, did a few different things, both of these guys were contributing to teams that are going to be in the finals. Obviously, Oladipo got hurt before it got to that point, but KCP comes in. He's a super 3-and-D guy. Oladipo can come in and score in bunches for a couple minutes, be athletic. But it's these guys that took a while to get there. Orlando didn't get to see the fruits of their labor. Whoever drafted KCP, who was that? Detroit. They didn't get to see the fruits of their labor. How do you judge somebody like this that 10 years later they're just now figuring their shit out? Like how do you? And obviously Oladipo's career might be over, but how do you judge those guys?
Also, before his first almost career-ending injury, Orlando shipped his ass off to OKC. So I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't want to see the fruits of his labor either. You look at KCP, he really didn't have anything. We look at him on the bubble team and with an LA. I think
Mhm.
he was with the bubble team and won. He wasn't as consistent. He was showing up every once in a while, but it was also on defense. Now
Yeah.
he's able to actually shoot, and also he went to Georgia, so fuck him. But like you have the CJ McCollums who was in a little college who wasn't thought to be anything, and they just took a chance on him. But and also we got to look at 10 years later what the layout of the NBA was.
Mm,
This was Miami running shit, the first super team, and people trying to figure out what they were going to do to counteract that, and that
right.
might have been the cause of a lot of people to be going crazy and picking and same people because I remember Ben McLemore to Sacramento. That was supposed to change that whole franchise.
Yeah, dude, he was
Looking
that
at that,
guy.
and then New Orleans, Nerlens
Nerlens
Noel
Noel.
in New
Yeah.
Orleans, him and fucking AD were supposed to be these
The Twin
two,
Towers.
yeah, these two huge guys went to the same school, like they're about to run shit. And like a lot of this stuff didn't happen, but they were all in hopes of some super team have to have more than three superstars on it, and they were trying to find
Mhm.
that next superstar. So yeah,
Well, it's
that's
crazy because the disparity in 2013 was so crazy. None of these teams were any good right off rip. Like,
yeah.
who won Rookie of the Year? Michael Carter Williams? Who was it that actually won Rookie of the Year? Does
I
Basketball
don't
Reference say?
remember.
It might have been Michael Carter Williams. Let me Google it. And he's not drafted till like 13th pick or something. And it's because everybody was so. Oh, not Dame Lillard. He wasn't a fucking rookie. Maybe I got to do 2014 Rookie of the Year. Yeah, Michael Carter Williams. Hey, I was right. Look at me knowing things. So Michael Carter Williams wasn't picked till 11 at Philadelphia, but because these first really 10 picks, I think CJ McCollum was fine. He came into his own next to Damian Lillard. Um, but nobody really looked good. And even after that, the only people that the reason Michael Carter Williams won that Rookie of the Year is because nobody looked good.
Yeah,
Olynyk was okay. Schroeder was probably the best. That I wonder if I can find the rest of the votes, but Schroeder was probably the next best one behind Michael Carter Williams. It was a weird class,
it
and so
was.
it's Victor Oladipo got second, but Michael Carter Williams got 104 first place votes. Victor Oladipo got 16, and then next was the only other people getting one was Trey Burke, Mason Plumlee, and Tim Hardaway Jr. So it was just such a weak class, which normally you at least see one person shoot out of the gate and do amazing. And those that didn't watch, Michael Carter Williams wasn't amazing. He won the Rookie of the Year pretty much because he played 70 games or however many he played. It wasn't because he was amazing. He was good on defense, but
Yeah,
like it was such a weird class to have that happen to where nobody changed a team the way we expect Wembanyama to do and people like that. And really the season before when Anthony Davis got drafted, they weren't amazing, but they completely turned a corner and they got like what 10 to 15 more wins that next season. You didn't see that with this draft class at all.
yeah, no, and that's the crazy thing. So like just looking at it in hindsight of what I feel like the Cavs would have wanted to do and just getting Kyrie and this really being the last piece to the puzzle because obviously a couple years later when we got it again, we didn't get Andrew Wiggins to keep. We got Andrew Wiggins
Right.
to sell to get Kevin Love. So if we kept that trend, we don't need Giannis at that
Right.
point in time. And so I feel like CJ McCollum being
Hmm.
that piece there, or even a Rudy Gobert to take Tristan off the floor and put Rudy in instead. But
Rudy would have been nice.
he would have, but Tristan was able to do his thing. We were pretty good down there, and the little man ball that was being played back then of what the Warriors brought to the league at that point in time. That started two drafts before this, but it's really started coming to fruition in 2014 and 2015. And 2015, honestly, when we started all those battles with Golden State, it would have been really nice to have a Kyrie and CJ McCollum backcourt
Ooh,
to be able to go up against the Warriors. I feel like we definitely would have been able to pull off more than one chip and that aspect. Obviously, with Giannis now, LeBron would have never left. We would still be the kings of the
yeah,
NBA, and we'd be working on our like fifth championship in a row.
for
Right now, if
sure.
we would have drafted Giannis, that's the easy option. But just with the headspace, I would definitely probably number one pick in that draft as a Cleveland Cavalier, knowing what I know now, outside of Giannis, which is the
Right.
would probably be CJ McCollum going to Cleveland to go in the backcourt with Kyrie.
Yeah, so when you look at team needs, when we do our redraft, we don't typically look at team needs, but we're still just spitballing things around. When you look at team needs, there's different things that you need, but Giannis
Well, see,
probably would
back
trump all
then,
of that, but
that's why back then we needed a Giannis. That's why we
true,
got Anthony Bennett. Like we
because you thought he
needed,
was Giannis.
yeah, we needed a Giannis. We needed a Rudy Gobert type guy. But
Right.
no,
Well,
like team needs, yeah, team needs. I'm taking Giannis or Rudy all day long.
the
I'll take
Suns
fucking
got
Kelly Olynyk
super
with team needs.
the Suns got super lucky in our redraft because, or in my redraft, my personal one, because Alex Lynn was the person we drafted, and Alex Lynn was fine, but he wasn't the best big man. Rudy Gobert would have been gone by the fifth pick. Obviously, he would be the best big man. But the next best guy that we should have drafted, we fucked up because he didn't go to as good of a school. But Steven Adams would have been our guy.
Yeah,
And that would have been fucking huge. Like, that's what we wanted. The same, like you just said, you wanted Anthony Bennett to play the way that Giannis does now. We wanted Alex Lynn to do what Steven Adams does now. We just needed him to be a big, manly dude. And he fucking went to the combine and he was fucking awesome. So we drafted him. And then Steven Adams comes out from Pitt and turns into he was kind of skinny in the draft too, so nobody really knew. But he filled out to this fucking monster. And we could have used Steven Adams. We could have used all the things that he does even today. We could trade for him tomorrow, and I'm still happy. We could
yeah.
have used Steven Adams in Phoenix's career. So that's where at least the fifth pick, which um, I think he would easily have fallen to 5. And that's where it's like, do you draft from team needs or do you draft from best player available? Because I'm not sure Steven Adams was the fifth best player total, just overall, but with us needing a center, he was definitely the guy that we would have went for. So,
All right,
all right, so let's look.
we're
So
gonna go through
just
this shit.
yeah, let's just look real quick. So Giannis, we can't be a sports podcast and have anybody over Giannis, right? Like we would have
Correct.
just I
Yeah,
think the internet
Giannis
would
to
just cut
Cleveland.
out.
Yeah,
So we don't have to talk about Giannis. But the surprising thing was how obvious to me that Rudy was the next best guy. Because recency bias shows that Rudy was way overpaid for by Minnesota. He's okay now, but he's not great. But when you see the string of, I think it was what 3 straight Defensive Player of the Years, what he was able to do in Utah next to Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert was clearly far and away the second person in this draft. Do you disagree? I know McCollum's up there, but do you think it's Rudy or somebody else?
no, I mean I definitely think it's Rudy. You have to go with him over CJ. CJ's had a chance to prove in New Orleans that he can be the guy,
Hmm.
but you won't be able to see him have an impact so dynamic for so long the way Rudy was able to have on the defensive end in the game of basketball in Utah. He was just like legit stoppable. Like he was
Yeah.
stopping everything. Like he was the stop monster. Like it was insane. This man cried whenever he didn't win the defensive player of the year because
Right.
he knew that he had been robbed. Like he's it's and again he's going to be a fucking Hall of Famer in the basketball because of it.
Oh
We
yeah,
haven't
basketball
seen
gives it
anything from
everybody.
CJ. Yeah, we haven't seen anything from CJ to give him that nod
Mm.
to be able to change the game to where you're going to take him right after Giannis.
Yeah, I agree. So when you're actually looking at the numbers, it's a clear Giannis, it's a clear Rudy. So after that is where it really starts to bunch up, where it really starts to fall around. So when you're drafting teams not included, needs not included, who do you have as the third best 10-year career essentially out of these guys? Like who would you
CJ.
have?
I
So
would have
there's where you'd
CJ.
put CJ.
Yeah, and yeah, CJ.
So I nudged CJ as well, but here's where I disagreed with Basketball Reference, by the way. This is where I was really juggling between CJ and Victor Oladipo
Yeah.
because while CJ has proven to be a more consistent, better person, Oladipo, right after he got traded to Indiana, he became all-star, like way better, really good player. And if I'm a GM, I'm trying to judge like, can I work around a 1.5, 2.5 year window with Oladipo, or do I want that 10 year? He's a really good Robin to somebody's Batman, which is what CJ is. No offense to CJ, but he's like one of the best Robins in the league.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I did pick CJ, but my mental battle was CJ versus Oladipo. And so obviously I have Oladipo fourth, but that was the two people I really battled with for third.
Same. And my only thing is like they've both had their injuries,
Mm-hmm.
but at this point in time, 10 years later, you're getting pretty much a full season of basketball more than you're getting with Oladipo at this point in time,
Right.
and it's been consistent, right? Like 10 years into it, we just had Oladipo playing very good ball up into this last injury, and he probably got it because he finally started going 100% again, not thinking about it, just thinking about his game and why he's playing so good, and then bam, here we go again. But with CJ, we have this consistency. When he misses games, he misses 30 at a time. He's not missing full seasons. He's not going through
Right.
full rehabs, and stuff like that. And like team needs not in this, but definitely hindsight with the injuries for me. After we get past Giannis and Rudy, that's going to be a big one for me. Games played
Mm.
from here on out is definitely a big one that's going to surprise you with a couple of names.
It probably is because the fifth place, the fifth one is I said with team needs, it's because it was the Suns pick that Steven Adams would be my guy. But there's a lot of different ways you can go here. And you have the guys that at least in the semifinals of the playoffs, you had Schroeder and KCP. Both of those guys were playing. You do have Steven Adams, you have Kelly Olynyk. You have a lot of different ways you can go, but you might have a different name here. Who do you have kind of as your fifth guy?
Yeah, no, fifth guy, I definitely, whenever you brought it up earlier, I was like, oh shit, Steven Adams going
Mm,
here,
yeah.
to Phoenix. And we're not thinking of team needs, but looking at that, you're like, damn, that would have been really cool when I was looking at this earlier,
Yeah.
trying to slide it. Like that would have been pretty damn cool.
And just the fact that he's been very consistent. He's probably not even like a fifth pick traditionally, but when you see this very weak draft, he's
He's
been the
played,
same person for 8 straight years.
yeah,
After
he's
his
played
first 2 years where he
53
was,
games less
yeah,
than, or wait, yeah, less than fucking KCP, who's played the most games out of this draft class.
right,
And also he's only played 13 games less than Giannis. So a guy
right.
that can stay on the
Is on the
court.
floor. Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't do anything amazing. He's never going to be a superstar. He's never going to even be an all-star, but he's consistent. And if you just put him out there and say, "Listen, we just need you to get rebounds and don't let their best player dunk on you." He's going to go, "How many fouls do I got again?" All right, bet. Let's do this. And he's going to take care of his job. And that consistency is what put him over some of my other picks.
No.
So yeah, I still had him fifth, even though team needs got taken out of it. But then for sixth and seventh, that's where I locked in the Schroeder and KCP, and
Ooh.
and like, oh, you got a different
Ah.
name. That's exciting. Um, that's where like I might be the biggest. Eddie hates Dennis Schroeder, by the way. That is like one of his least favorite players. Uh, I think Dennis Schroeder has been the best left guy. I have him as sixth. I think he is a starting point guard. I think he is
Yeah, in
capable of
2016.
he is a starting point guard in 2023. He can do it.
Mm.
When he was on Atlanta, he was obviously at his best self.
Mm.
But he's kind of gotten the shot. I feel like he's that Rondo level of
Mm.
person where they're like, you're not capable. But then when he comes in and runs the team for the stretch, he can run a fucking team. He knows how to run a team. He knows how to play defense, take charges, do things, dribble the ball well without turning it over. I like Dennis Schroeder, and I have him 6. So who do you got?
Give me Mason Plumlee.
I thought about him.
Give me Denver Nuggets Mason Plumlee.
His peak, which wasn't even really a peak, was just so short and little. Like, I don't feel like he did
But he's
enough
Mr.
to me.
Consistent. He went to Duke. He's smart. Every team you see him on, he's always leading huddles, talking up teammates.
Yeah.
And
His
he's
nose
able to
fucks me up.
produce. Yeah, his face is ugly as shit. But he's always able to produce for a team. He's not a great point scorer, but he's able to get it done on the court, and he's still there. He's still doing it, and he's a viable option. He's not a guy that LeBron's going to pick up and let you start on his team.
That's true.
Saying he's a fucking starter.
He wasn't
still.
even the next big man.
He wouldn't be a starter in
I
the other
picked.
27 fucking teams.
He wasn't even the next big man that I picked.
Are you serious? What do you pick, Cody?
No. I'll wait for the next pick because it's my next pick. Or not like 7, but 8. So for 7, who did you have then?
For 7 is when we start getting down into where we kind of see in familiar territory.
Mm-hmm.
I like Schroeder, but I don't like him more, and I think Kelly Olynyk, and he's an arm breaker and a heartbreaker for me, but he's them two. Would be fighting over for the next one, and then after that is when we start getting into the okay, Tim Hardaway had a good little run.
Right.
You know, Tony Snell was able to do a little bit for Chicago. Trey Burke, looked like he was going to bounce back.
Gorgie Jane on the Mavericks for a little bit.
Yeah,
doing some things. No, I had KCP in this point. Literally 2 years ago,
KCP for me
I wouldn't have had KCP at all.
Yeah, exactly. KCP's had like 1 or 2 good years of actually doing something for a team. And it might have been just because of Mason being on Denver for their almost runs of the last couple years is what does it for me. But no, that Bruce Brown for Mason and whatever package that was part of. Yeah, that definitely helped. That was a good smart trade for them to trade off Mason for Bruce. But no, he was able to do a lot for that team, and a lot more I feel like than Dennis, KCP, any of them have been able to do up to this point for a substantial amount of time. Like we all know,
that's the thing, right?
Like Dennis couldn't get past the Eastern Conference Finals, couldn't do anything. Mason and them we're starting to get there, and but he's always been on good teams being consistent, and Dennis Schroeder keeps getting thrown to the Wolves.
Well, KCP has been a beneficiary of just being a clutch client, right?
Yeah.
So he was shit for many years, playing in, not he was shit, but Detroit was shit. And then LeBron said, listen, get my boy over here. Like he was potentially about to not have a job in the NBA. Again, not that he was bad. He was fine. He was averaging double digits of points. But he was kind of getting pushed out of the league. Nobody cared anymore. And LeBron said, give him too much money to come to the Lakers. And he helped them win a ring. Well, helped them is whatever. He hit a few big threes and he played big defense. And then he kind of reinvented himself. Now he's on the Denver Nuggets. And so he got to play with LeBron James when he was still fine. Now I just feel like he's old, and this is not even an anti-LeBron thing, but it's not as easy to play with LeBron as it was a few years ago. But now he gets to go play with Jokic, who is, in my opinion, the number 1 teammate to play for right now.
Absolutely.
I don't know that it's even arguable, but for the sake of being fair, I'll say my opinion. To play with Jokic is the best. So he's getting wide open looks and he's hitting them. But I think that's valuable. When you look at the rest of this draft, I think what KCP can give you is valuable. But obviously you have to have a couple of stars to take make his shots open shots. Because if his shots are guarded, he can't make them for shit. But if you can pull a double team and make them open, it's good. So
sure.
my next pick is the other big that I said instead of Plumlee, and it is Kelly Olynyk. I'm gonna call him a big, and I just think when you said it best, when like we're now getting to the whose 1 year peak was best, and Kelly Olynyk had maybe the best arm break in NBA history, so that they could move forward. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm signing him just for an arm break. But you're getting to the part of the draft where it's like, what can you do for me? Give me your 1 year peak, and I think Kelly Olynyk's 2-3 year peak is better than anybody else that's left.
Yeah, for sure. And then, all right, so one
9 and
person.
10. There's only a couple people left.
Let's go one person outside. One person outside the first round that you feel like could have had a different career, or one person that we didn't talk about could have had a different career if they would have been drafted somewhere else.
To the right team.
Yeah.
It's tough because this fucking draft is so bad.
I got it right. Eric Murphy, go Gators.
I don't even know who the fuck Eric Murphy is.
That was the white boy, wasn't it? Or was that the short dude?
Honestly, I think, and this was a guy that got drafted highly up. It was a first rounder, so I don't know if it's going with your thing. But Shane Larkin, had he not gotten drafted right behind Dennis Schroeder, if he would have went to a team where he could actually do his own fucking thing, I think Shane Larkin could have had a completely different career and been a baller.
I was about to say that little light-skinned ass. Yeah, I agree.
He was fucking good. But in the second round, I don't see.
Yeah, Eric Murphy was the white boy.
I don't see anybody in the second round that's Muscala, I guess. I don't see anybody in the second round that's any good. Who did the Suns get? Alex Oriaki. Who the fuck is Alex Oriaki? He didn't play a single game in the NBA. Fuck you, Suns.
Really?
Fucking suck.
Hey, the Cavs got Alan Crabb. Remember him? He was on the Nets, I think, when he did good.
Yeah. Ooh, that Alex Abrinas kid. I remember him.
Yeah.
Yo, your Crab guy played 381 games. It's not bad for a second rounder.
Bro. Oh, that's Mike Muscala down there.
Yeah, Muscala was probably the best second round pick.
Raul Neto.
This one. Yeah, he was okay for what again?
He was
like
killing it a couple years ago.
40 games. It wasn't even like a full year though. He was like okay for half a season.
Who's this James Ernest dude?
Oh.
James Ennis the third. Cal State
Ernest?
Long Beach.
Hey, let's go Long Beach. Look at your boy.
He had 6.7 points a game.
Being the 18th man for a fucking 8 years. Let's go, brother.
What the fuck?
Let's see who he played for. Oh, he started 140 games in his career, bro.
Damn. He played for the Heat most. Oh no.
So the Magic was where he had his best run.
He played for the Nuggets. Is he on the Nuggets now?
He has played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams.
Is he on the Nuggets now?
He is, well, 22 it says, so he's not on a team this year. He played for 4 teams last year.
Damn.
Two games with the Nets, 2 games with the Clippers, and 3 games with the Nuggets. So he's just signing 10 days now. Go, dude, go, man. Yo, he averaged 10 points a game last year for the Clippers. Good shit.
All right.
Whatever. Hey, good job, second rounder. So that's pretty fun. The one guy that I want to talk about that we didn't talk about, I guess, was Tim Hardaway Jr. And that's because when you look at this draft as a whole, we just talked about how shitty they are. It fell off after like the 3rd or 4th pick. When you just take one season peak, Tim Hardaway Jr. is one of the better ones from this draft. I think when we're looking at this, say for like a 50-year redraft, and you're going just like, is there any names that we remember? You're going to remember the season from Tim Hardaway Jr. when he was on Dallas and just able to fill up the scoreboard and give them a little run. Obviously, they beat the Suns and shit, but he gave them a little run. He gave them a nice spark. So good on you for having one good year.
Yeah, woohoo. Should have had a lot more with that last name. in name.
You thought he would, yeah. So let's move to the real world again, and talk about the games that are left. So the Nuggets officially swept the Los Angeles Lakers, and I officially lost 4 straight bets. I bet the Lakers all 4 games because I bet the Lakers the first game thinking they would just like jump out to the win, and then the Nuggets would win the next 5 or next 4. Then I was like, well, the Lakers are going to take 1 in Denver. Then it came to game 3, and I was like, well, the refs are going to help them win game 3. And I was right, but the Nuggets were better than the refs. And so then I was like, well, the Lakers aren't going to fucking get swept. And I lost again. So when you look at this series, we don't need to talk about the Lakers too much, but the Nuggets had to show you that we talked about it after they beat the Suns last week, but they're the clear favorites. No team from top to bottom can match up even close to the Nuggets, right?
Yeah. Just the fact that they have this guy who is out of shape as fuck, breathes through every hole in his body. It's crazy, bro.
So I
They
saw a
are.
thing today, just so you can watch the highlights from now on with this grain of salt. I saw a post that said Nikola Jokic looks like a guy who's playing basketball in slides.
Yeah, I saw
When
that
you watch
too.
him play, he fucking looks like he's wearing slides. He
It's
shuffles his feet around. He throws up these weird non-jump shots. It's hilarious.
the only thing is that the Heat, presumably it's the Heat. I mean,
You
nobody's
would
ever
have
came
to
back from a
assume, yeah.
3-0, right? But I guess everybody thought the Warriors were gonna win in 2016 too. But
Right.
nope. I got this baby right here.
Only the
Just
Boston
so you
Red
know.
Sox have come back from down 3-0.
True. This is true. I guess in all sports. But yeah. So the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah. The only thing is if it's the Heat, these teams have a lot of beef.
Mhm.
Marcus Morris, Markieff, whichever one it was, isn't on the team anymore. But they haven't forgot. The Jokic brothers haven't forgot. There's a good amount of people that are still on this team that were outside that locker room trying to get in at the end of that game. And I think there's going to be a lot of animosity. We don't know Jimmy the person. We know what everybody else sees in Jimmy the athlete, and he is going to go fucking nuts as much as he can on this team. He's going to be fiery as fuck. He's going to be starting shit with everybody. He hasn't forgotten, and if he did forget, I'm sure somebody reminded him, and he's using that fuel for fire. This is going to be insane, and I honestly can't call it. If I had to put money down on it, I would probably just bet the over or under of
Mhm.
games if I had to. You have to pick something on this game. All right, over points.
Because it's probably, you mean over points you're going to do?
Like just whatever I had to do. I
Mm.
would not try to pick a winner.
I thought
Um,
you were picking over the outcome, like in games, because I would think that the over under for games is 5.5, right? And you have to go over on that.
yeah.
It the Heat are too fucking well coached, and Michael Malone. I love Michael Malone. I do. Some people knock him still. You knock him sometimes on text, but I like Michael Malone. I think he's one of the better ones. But nobody can fucking stand up to Spoelstra. We've said it many times. Neither one of us are Heat fans. When LeBron was on the Heat, Seal was the biggest Heat hater because
Yeah.
his team stole his guy. But we could not talk badly about Spoelstra. We haven't been able to for now, 10 years. So
Well,
he's he's the best coach, and it's not even close. It's not a fair fight for anyone. And maybe that's because he came from the film room. Maybe he just had more studying than everybody else. But that's going to keep him close. But for what it's worth, I will defend Jimmy here. I don't think that Jimmy Butler is in any way, shape, or form a bad dude. Like when he's between the lines, he's gonna talk his shit. He's gonna do his thing. I don't think he'd ever like get in a real ass fight with somebody and try to start any shit. I don't know.
at the end,
I
hey,
just
after that game, it was on like Donkey Kong.
It was on
Absolutely.
for everybody. Kyle Lowry was about to fight. And this dude, I would have never pegged as a fighter in a
He's a
million
teddy
years.
bear.
And he was
He's
about
a
to fight.
teddy bear.
So
But
that, yeah, but that was like some real shit. So, but Jimmy, dude, I love Jimmy's mentality. When you're in between the lines, you do your shit, bro. But after the game's over, turn back into Jimmy.
Yeah,
And it's pretty cool.
And the fact that these teams are going to be pretty equally matched. The Heat don't have the names of the Aaron Gordons, of the Michael Porter Juniors, but they have the Gabe
And
Vincents. They
Hero
have
should
them.
be back, right? Because Hero
Um,
is expected back if there's like a game 7 of this series.
have no
So
clue how that would work. But yeah, they have, and even if he could be back, he better be 150% to
right.
fuck up what they got going on right now
Exactly.
because those four guys, the Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin,
Well,
who's the other
Struess,
one?
was it
Duncan
Struess that got
Robinson.
hurt? No, Gabe Vincent got hurt at the end of last game. So
Oh,
we'll
word.
see. I mean, I don't think it's bad hurt, but he at least got tweaked.
But like these guys are 20-point a night scorers, just like the Nuggets have, and their depth is the same. Like these are going to be
Yeah.
great games. It's going to come down to how amazing is Jokic? Like how dominant is this man as a basketball player? Because like we can all agree, is he as dominant as a center as Shaq? No. Can he score more points, have more assists and more rebounds every single game of his career than Shaq? Yeah. He is a amazing fucking basketball player. And he's also dominant as fuck with his size, can just rumble around anybody, no effort to it, doesn't even look like he's trying to hurt anybody. He's just fucking a brick and just an amazing basketball player. It's crazy to watch. It's insane.
So, in your opinion, has Jokic stolen the belt of just best, however you want to frame that word, best player in the NBA? Because consensus, no offense to Embiid, consensus it's been Giannis. Jokic has won back-to-back MVPs, then Embiid won an MVP, and people were still saying Giannis would go number 1. Has Jokic snatched that, or is it still Giannis?
No, I think Jokic has definitely came through and been able to take that from him. Um, absolutely. And we're going to see it after they win the chip over the team that eliminated the Bucks. That's going to help his argument out a lot more. And hopefully we do get to see that matchup in the finals one day. And that'll probably
That'd
be
be
a
nice.
Christmas matchup next season and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, just what he's able to do. Giannis isn't a good passer. Giannis isn't a good shooter. Giannis gets through walls. Giannis breaks down your defense. He has a couple different things he can do. That's why the Heat were so successful against him, and also the injuries
Yeah.
as well helped out a lot. But over the years, back in the day, they've battled what that was the third time in the last 4 playoffs that those two teams have battled, and the Heat have now won 2 out of the 3 times.
Right.
And it's they know what Spolstra, but they know what it takes to stop him because there are ways to stop Giannis. You can try to stop Jokic; he's going to throw it from behind his head into the basket. And you can try to stop him scoring; he's still going to get 20 rebounds and 15 assists. Like he's just a phenomenal basketball player. So if we're talking about the best basketball player in the world, it's got to be Jokic. If we're talking about the best athlete, basketball scorer, it's probably going to be Giannis.
Yeah, so Giannis has the Shaq level like dominance and he has the defense. But that's two aspects to a game that's very nuanced, and Jokic has every other aspect of that game. So I agree with you. It's pretty cool. So let's real quick, just so that we're being fair. Do the Celtics have any chance of reverse sweeping this?
No,
They have 2 of the next 3 games at home if they need them. But they look pretty fucking good in game 4. You're still
they
just gonna
did.
hard no?
Yeah, no. Jimmy's been fucking up that coach since fucking college. No.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, the Celtics, I've said it every freaking round, and I've been wrong. The Heat are the less talented team. The Celtics should be the better team. They have 2 games at home. The Heat started missing some threes, and now we saw what happened when the Heat missed threes. But you have to do it 4 fucking times, and that's
Yep.
hard. That's hard to fucking do. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be hard, but the setup for the movie is here. Boston has everything they needed. They had to win game 4. obviously. But now they have Game 5 at home, Game 7 at home, and they have the players that could make that script, make that movie. I'm not saying the NBA is scripted, but Game 3, the refs were trying to make the Lakers win. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
But the Celtics, if the Lakers were still alive, the Celtics would stay alive. But that script ended when the Lakers couldn't win it. So I think they're just like, fuck it, let whoever goes in, goes in.
That would have
All
been
right.
annoying as fuck if the Lakers and the Celtics would have won.
That's what the NBA wanted.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. But fuck
I
'em.
think the NBA is happy though because Jokic is fucking balling, and they're like, you know what?
Bro,
Fuck
they're
it.
going to have two of
We're
the
gonna-
smallest markets in the NBA be in the
Yeah,
finals.
but they're about to run some highlights. They're gonna bring out Arvydas Sabonis highlights to put next to Jokic and shit. It's gonna be crazy.
They're going to be showing the highlights of them fucking Jokic brothers getting their asses beat.
So what do we have to get out of here? It's about that time to wrap up. I don't know of any headlines that are stud worthy.
I don't either, honestly. Not too much going on. Actually, shout out to Pat McAfee. Keep coming up. Keep making big fucking moves.
Did he get that sign? Get the signing?
The ESPN?
or whatever? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you lock it down? Nice.
Yeah, it's approved. He's going to be not only on ESPN from 12 to 3, he's going to be on ESPN Plus from 12 to 3, and also be on the ESPN YouTube channel from 12 to 3, 5 days
Nice.
a week. Not only that, he doesn't have to kosher it and change it up to where he's talking about sports and he has to watch what he says. He just can't say fuck. He can say that
Gotcha.
shit was crazy. He can say, holy hell, that
Why can't
damn.
you just say whatever the fuck he wants and they'll bleep it?
So
if it's not on YouTube.
I mean, it's on ESPN, but
Right.
with The Last Dance, it was after 9 p.m. So that's why all that was able to fly. Now I'm sure they will have some ESPN mega cast things that they do. Well, they'll be able to have their shits and their fucks and their dams fly.
Right.
But no, it's awesome. Somebody who does what we love to do. I mean, nobody starts podcasting because they want to hear themselves or look at themselves. They start podcasting because they do it for fun. And it's something that he started doing for fun once he retired with Barstool. It wasn't fun for him there, so he branched off to do it by himself. And at the same time, he realized he has to turn it into a business to make money because he wasn't getting checks from football anymore. And he's just climbed up and climbed up. He's always found sponsors, found ways to make money, found ways to help his guys and his crew survive and eat and take care of their kids and all that stuff. And now to have a platform like ESPN, that's insane. I mean, this cat reached like millions of views whenever Aaron Rodgers was announcing that he was leaving the fucking Packers or whatever the fuck that announcement was about a month and a half ago now. But it's crazy and it's awesome to see somebody that it seems like he's plateaued. Like, all right, he's on YouTube. He's got a fucking $150 million deal with FanDuel. Like the guy's set. No, he keeps reaching, keeps finding ways to move up. Never settles with what he has. And it's not always about money. Like everybody gets caught up in the money and oh, you have to have money to do this, you have to have money to do that. It's not, he's probably at the end of the day going to be losing a little bit of money because he might have to go with DraftKings or he can't use FanDuel anymore and all that stuff. So he could be losing money at the end of the day. But it's all about elevating your business, finding a bigger platform, finding a bigger audience. And that goes with everything, whether it's just anything you do, just always find a way to grow and expand. And as always, be a stud and not a scrub.
Oh.